If you don't know, now you know. Maximum Football is extending the open beta on Steam for another week, along with a small patch to quote, "The biggest change users will notice is the real-world simulation speed. We have calibrated player speed around 40 yard times between 4.2 and 5.7 seconds, depending on the speed rating of the player. This will allow users to make quick cuts and quicker changes of direction." So, Maximum Football has improved within 1 week. They've extended the open beta for another week. Some of the patch notes I am showing here, and you can get a more in-depth look at the patch for Maximum Football on the Steam page. But most importantly, I am happy to report that the game feels noticeably better than it did this time last week. Now, the patch the patch didn't fix all the problems. There are still plenty of issues with the on-field gameplay, but it did a great job with the speed of the game and the fluidity of player movement and the passing game. You'll notice the difference as I now swap back to the pre-patch gameplay from my live stream, and how you're going to notice how the player movement is much snappier with the change of directions, how the players like really suction cup to each other on tackles. Notice how the speed of the game changes when the ball is thrown in the air and then after the receiver has caught it. It made for a jarring experience on the field and ultimately not a very fun one either. So now let's jump back into the post-patch open beta. It's still a little jumpy, still snappy, but visually you should be able to see the difference between the two, versions of the game, if you will, especially with passing the ball, and how it no longer looks like the game is going at two different speeds. The animation of throwing the ball and the ball flying through the air now much more closely matches the speed of the game itself. It's definitely faster, which I think also helps with the tackle animations and player collisions. Now, still not great. We have a play here. You can see a massive change in speed in the receiver's route on the right-hand side running a post. And I also have another one with the receiver running a post from the slot on the left-hand side of this unrealistic change of speed and acceleration. You'll notice that quite often in this game, where there are still sudden lightning quick bursts from players during an animation, mostly coming from tackles, but also sometimes some catches, like this interception made by the PC. Before you can blink, they've high-pointed the football and intercepted it. Some receiving animations and logic still need to be adjusted. I haven't seen a receiver high-point the football yet, speaking of high-pointing the ball. And even on that interception I threw, there wasn't even an attempt to go up and get it. It's like the receivers only know how to let the ball come to them. Scrambling is still the ultimate cheese play when you're in a sticky situation, and I noticed the secondary has definitely done a better job of adjusting to my play calls and playing the coverage than before the patch, but they're still pretty inconsistent, and the D-line penetration is nowhere to be found. I mean, the offensive line is great. The line play looks nice when you're in pass pro. You can always rely on realistic forming pockets that either form around you or collapse around your quarterback and you get sacked. But the run game is still largely non-skill based, as the ball carrier moves like spin or juke don't work like they should. I mean, you can even see here at the spin move how long it takes. It's like you're winding up a toy in order to try and execute a spin move. You can't really, you still lack the minute controls of player movement to make sharp cuts in the direction you're trying to go without overcorrecting. Like this here on kickoff return that I'm replaying for you, I'm trying to cut over inside, and it's almost like it just overcorrects itself. So it's like cutting to the left stick results in too much of an angle, and trying to find something in between isn't going to get you any progress on the field. Maximum Football, it's been in development for 2 to 3 years now, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit disappointed in the gameplay, but I'm not giving up on it, and neither should you. I believe the game is much closer than people are giving it credit for to being a fun on-the-field experience, and I know it needs a lot of polish at this stage. With the player collisions and tackles are very janky. There's too much suction cupping where it appears as if there's like this magnetic force between the ball carrier and the closest defender, and the game wants to trigger that tackle animation more than anything else. But again, I mean, look at the difference of gameplay smoothness in just 7 days. What a very small patch did to Maximum Football. I mean, give these guys another 3 to 6 months solely working on the physics, solely working on the animations, and I think we'll have an early access game that is acceptable for release. I see a lot of comments from gamers talking about extra features like career mode and mini games and custom stadium sounds and sponsorships on patches and all these other crazy ideas, which are fine, but let's be real, guys. I mean, the only thing the dev team really should be working on right now is gameplay. The gameplay needs to be smoothed out significantly, and while I don't expect that buttery smoothness of an NCAA 14 or a 2K8 game, I do expect to see less animation interference with the gameplay. Just my personal opinion, I would just rather player collisions and animations maybe look a little weird and off because the animation got interrupted in preference for the physics. I would rather have that than a smooth looking tackle animation that shouldn't have happened. You know, I can't stand Madden because it's hard to trust that I actually have full control over the play, and instead I oftentimes feel locked into a predetermined outcome because of a code that was written in the game or just how the engine prioritizes certain animation over player physics. And right now, Maximum Football, it sometimes feels very similar to Madden in that way, and I'm not sure how much of my success or failures are coming down to skill or lack of skill, or down to the game's programming. And you can even see here as I'm trying to break a run, like I thought I was cutting to the outside, to the right, and was going to be able to maybe break a tackle, but instead I kind of like jumped backwards a little bit, and the CPU's able to make the tackle. And then there's also times where I make a throw in a tight spot and the ball maybe warps to the receiver a little bit and like changes speed in midair to get to the receiver, and it takes you out of the game a little bit because it almost feels like a dice roll. But I will say, again, with the, take a drink every time I say I will say, the new patch, it's definitely more fun than it was 7 days ago, but there's still a lot of work. There's still too many instances where the ball trajectory changes speed midair, receiver route running will change speed, and that just throws off your entire rhythm of the route timing. And still multiple cases of what I'm calling magnetic tackling. Don't give up on the game yet. I'm not going to either. This is a dev team that really cares about putting out a quality product. I know they have a lot to clean up, but I think these guys are like really going to work to try and put out a solid game for everybody. That's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. There's going to be a lot more football content coming from me. We have King Havo's College Bowl coming out, which is his college version of Legend Bowl. That's coming out here in like a day or two, depending on what time I release this video. I'm going to try and review that one ASAP and get a review out to you guys maybe Monday or Tuesday next week. That would be pretty nice. And yeah, that's it for me. Stay tuned to the channel if you liked this video and thought it was insightful. Maybe give it a thumbs up if you want to see more indie sports content and just like reviews of sports video games, mostly football video games. Give this channel a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And until next time, peace.